have been in a worse shape.
Yeah, it's probably been a revolution 2009, even 2020. It was a terrible
Oh yeah.
year. I mean, but it affected globally, just not nationally.
Well, there was a lot of people that were visibly upset and very much upset about something like that because all their investments just went down 40, 60%.
But if you kept your stocks in, they went back up.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it was a loss at the time. But if you kept them in, you were rich now. Welcome back to YouTube with another video. This is season 5, episode 2. As we do elaborate with the questioning, who am I originally here with?
You are with Chris right now.
So, like, what brings you to Texas this way?
Well, I moved down here when I was a young boy. I saw a lot of opportunity down here and a lot of particularly aviation.
So, like, what made you get in the field?
Well, my grandpa was an aviation guy. He was actually in the Air Force originally, and they kicked him out because they found out he was underage when he was trying to be a pilot. So, just trying to continue that legacy.
So, the first question we always ask people on the channel, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Particularly you.
I want to get into rocketry. I want to work for SpaceX or NASA, something like that.
So, elaborate, how does that look like right now?
Right now, I'm on course, I'm going to probably go into aerospace, give it a few years, get a bachelor's, and use the combination of the license I'm getting here and a few other things just to really get things fleshed out.
So, as we do elaborate, man, so where do you see yourself in a year from now?
A year from now, I'll probably be working a nice aviation mechanic job. I'll just be probably studying on the side for a little while.
So with that right there, what could you elaborate to people that want to get in this industry, in this field?
Ooh. It's a lot of study, it's a lot of dedication, it's a lot of, you just gotta really find your passion. I mean, you gotta figure out what exactly you're doing it for, your motivations. You write that down and you just keep on doing it. Every time you ever doubt yourself, just look back at it and just ask yourself, why am I doing this? Well, there's your answer. You already written it out several months ago.
So, as we elaborate, I think you already graduated high school. So, what actually made you get in this field? You said your grandpa was in it.
Yeah.
So was that the cause route?
Mostly, I think I also tried to get into the Air Force myself when I was younger, and it kind of changed my mind after a while, and decided that the civilian sector would be better off for me.
So, as the next question, man, so how do you feel about the politicians and the Republicans in the state of Texas right now? How do you feel about the policies in this state? If you would change, the question is, so if you were to be in that type of role, what positions of power and laws would you put down on people? What would you change?
I feel like we would need a lot more of a technological approach. NASA's been underfunded for many years now, and they've just had their funding cut over and over again every single year. And if you are in a position where you're trying to figure out the funding, you're trying to figure out all this, and you just keep losing your funding, there's only so much you can do. And I feel like with the privatization of the space industry, it's helped out a lot, but there still needs to be some sort of governance to make that a reality.
So your reality right now is basically fund the aerospace industry and fund the space force industry. The military just created a new branch not too long ago. It's called Space Force. How do you feel about elaborate with that type of field? Would you go in that industry?
I would consider it. I really am more in the research and development side of things, like researching new ways of propulsion. But I do know that militarization is kind of inevitable, so they kind of interlink. They work with each other in a way.
So the next question, man, so how do you feel about all the influencers, politicians, and people with power that does nothing for your community?
I'd say it's pretty unfortunate.
If you had $1 million, what would you do with it right now? If you had $1 million?
Probably invest, go into the space industry, make my own company, startup, stuff like that.
How does that look like?
In reality, I think I would need more than $1 million to make a space company. But what's really big in the field is asteroid mining right now. That's definitely
Okay, so you're saying like mining asteroids
Yeah.
and mining, like space debris out there
Yeah.
in the global atmosphere.
Yeah, they say the first person that can do that will be the world's first trillionaire, per se. Now, I don't necessarily believe that because, all the expenses, but
That's very expensive, man. Just to get in space, gonna cost more than $1 million, probably $100 million just to get a
Exactly.
rocket off there in space. And unfortunately, bring it back down, you're looking at a total of over $1 billion
easily.
of just
Easily
fuel,
hundreds of millions.
of just fuel.
Mhm.
Just fuel might cost you $500 million.
Wait.
$500 million. Just fuel.
Well, when that comes around, I think the best idea is like a side hustle. Mr. Elon Musk, he had Tesla. I think it was part of Google, something like that. And he eventually made his way up by brute force, essentially. And that's kind of the similar approach to that.
Because right now he's kind of funding the Wi-Fi, basically in Ukraine right now. He's basically funding their Wi-Fi. Still, Elon Musk is still funding the Wi-Fi. Basically, they're trying to cancel him in that industry because, like I said, technically that's not a war crime because you're helping individuals who are dangerous, like engaged with basically the war. So what I mean by that is that I understand that you're helping people, but that's also like a war crime because you're basically giving a certain side capabilities that the other side is not accessible to. Even with the funding with American aid. So next question is about that, man. So how do you feel about, all the funding that Americans, taxpayers pay overseas?
Depends on what it's used for. If it's for militarization, that's a whole story. If it's for progression or elevating third world countries, it depends. If we're in shambles at the moment, which we kind of are with the economy, we're in a position where we need to focus more on ourselves right now, personally.
So you're saying that our taxpayer dollars should be under the Republican Party right now? Because, predominantly Democrats help people.
Hard to say, because I'm not sure.
Because me personally, what I got from the couple years and decades and the centuries was that, Republicans basically fund and make problems for the Democrats later on. And the Democrats usually solve it. And that's why usually the Democrats are fault for everything. Like even now, Trump has so many policies to the point where the Republicans had to come in office and fix it. If not, we was going to be bankrupt. So it's deeper than just parties. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. And especially right now because, a lot of these people, they are in a position where it's just like they're both in certain ways. They're both. And they have some regard to Republican ideals and some have ideals that relate to Democrats. And a lot of these people, they flip-flop. From what I've seen, they flip-flop, and because of that, you're in a position where it's hard to say whether one party
Is right or wrong.
is right or wrong. Exactly.
Because some policies are supposed to be in Democrats, but they're in Republican Democrats. So
Exactly.
it makes I understand, we all under one country, one flag. But at the end of the day, so the next question is like that, man. So how do you feel about, as a uplink of a revolution, bro? So how do you think that's gonna play out? Do you think that's even thought of right now? Because elections coming around the corner.
When you think about it, we have militarist groups that are out there that are far right or far left. There are a few far left ones out there.
Very far left.
Mostly far right. There are people that I would say they're a minority, but they would rebuke in a situation where their opposing party wins. And we saw that in, I think it was like 2018, 2020.
2020.
2020. Yeah, we saw that in 2020. We might see it again this time. Who knows? It's really up in the air.
So, as you elaborate with the next question, then, man, so like we just said, bro, so how do you feel about, women's reproduction rights,
I think it should be their choice at the end of the day because we don't have enough information to be able to tell if a baby is alive right now in those certain stages. And it's a hard decision to make on all regards, but it also depends on the situation. So if it was a situation of rape or incest, something like that is...
So you should be, I mean, so you're saying that it should be woman's choice.
Yes.
I totally agree. I feel like in every state, no matter the population rates going down or up, it should still be in the federal hands. So you agree? It should be in the federal hands. So yeah, I don't feel like it should be state to state. No matter the population rates are going down or up, it should still be their right.
Yes, I agree.
So in the state of Texas, bro. So elaborate. You said you've been out here for a couple years.
Many years.
Many years.
I've been
So
here almost all my life.
from your experience, like what was the biggest uplink you ever received here? So I mean that, like, what was the best benefit you ever got when you lived here?
Well, I'd say a lot of like food security. EBT set up when I was younger. I think in like '09 when they had that financial collapse, they brutally
Yeah, the
saved
stock
everyone.
market closed. It was a devastating
Yeah.
event.
I mean, we
Very
still
catastrophic.
we still had rice and beans every day, but the thing is, if it wasn't for that extra cash from the government, we would have been in a worse shape.
Yeah, there's probably been a revolution in 2009. Even 2020, it was a terrible
Oh yeah.
year. I mean, but it affected globally, just not nationally.
Well, there was a lot of people that were visibly upset and very, very much upset about something like that because all their investments just went down 40-60%.
But if you kept your stocks in, they went back up.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it was a loss at the time. But if you kept them in, you were rich now.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next question, man. So explain why our country is so divided.
I think the two-party system is primarily responsible for that, and the overall division was caused by the advent of the internet. And yes, the internet is a wonderful place, and it's got a lot of people, and it's got a lot of opinions. But for something that was meant to bring us all together, we're now in a position where it's dividing us, and there's a lot of technological issues that are causing that division.
Because half the population can't even read or write.
Really?
Yes, half the population can't read or write. A quarter of us can't even go without our phones in the United States of America. So you kind of see like it's more as we're financially dependent on our phones to even go make money, to go try to make change. Everyone always so stuck on their phone. No matter if you have no social media or not, you're on your phone playing games. You're on your phone using the GPS. You're calling. So
Certainly.
elaborate, like why are we so addicted to electronics?
Well,
Do you think because of the radiation?
No, it's a dopaminergic activity. When you see iPad kids, for instance, people that grew up on iPads, I saw some at McDonald's the other day. I mean, you can just see they're fully attached to this.
It's like their
screen.
heartbeat.
Yes, exactly. And all these colorful, all these colors, all these different gadgets that you have on a cell phone, even a watch, or even your tablet there. I mean, there's so many different colors and so many different things that
So you
can
think the pixels basically creates a chemical reaction in your brain?
Not the pixels, more so
The colors.
more so the gratification, the extensive colors, the content somebody views online, like YouTube or like cartoon shows, whatever. The stimulating feelings that are caused by that, it's an addiction, almost.
So what could you tell people that's watching right now, basically to motivate them and like to change their path and just wake up?
I'd say the first thing I did was I dropped social media. I mean, the only thing I use is to text people now, and I don't. All the apps you see that have doom scrolling, like Instagram or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, all those apps are kind of pointless because they don't really help you at all. And on top of that, really just putting yourself in perspective and having yourself like by yourself as an individual and looking at what's around you instead of the whole global situation.
Yeah, because we see so much on our phones, we go numb from the pain,
Yes, we see car accidents every day.
and we
see
numb
this,
from it. It's like
see
we
that.
just numb from it.
Exactly. And because of that, we're in a situation where there's a lot of people who are just not caring anymore. I think that applies to the political world. I think it applies to everything else.
You know, as we elaborated before, man, thank you for joining us. This is season 5, episode 2, as we do elaborate, man. So, like, what can they find you in here? Like Instagram, social media, TikTok?
Don't use them.
Yeah, like you said before, man, I still have to ask him, but like I said, he don't use no socials. And I am here with who again?
Chris.
Chris, nice to meet you, man. As we do elaborate the questions, man. So thank you. Make sure you guys like, follow, share, comment, stay engaged, tap that screen, post that bell. Until next time, you guys, peace out.